Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video, I would like to continue talking about tactical combat. So I've been going through the passages, explaining the code, and we are in the middle of Generate Map. At the end of the last video, I had finished showing you how the enemies were placed, and I was up to showing you how the heroes are placed. However, I don't want to go through that line by line because it's almost exactly the same as how the enemies are placed. It's just that there are different variables to keep track of where the heroes are. Pick a square at random from the eligible squares, see if it's empty. If it is empty, put the character in there. If it's not empty, pick another square and keep doing that until everyone has been placed. There is a change that I've made that I do want to talk about, which involves a new variable, monster X. Previously, I started the two sides in two halves of the board. The monsters started in one half and the heroes started in the other half. But I thought that that might lead to some of the board not being used because the heroes have to try and get from their starting position over to this objective on the far left-hand side. So I thought that starting them sort of in the middle might mean that everything happens on half the board and the other half of the board is wasted. So I thought it might be better to start the heroes towards the right-hand end of the board. And so I've changed it so that's what happens. Once again, it's random, but you can see that the heroes are sort of squashed up at this end. The monsters are spread out through most of the field. And the variable that makes that possible is monster X. Monster X is 3/4 of the width variable. Specifically, it's math.round width times 3/4. Math.round just means round to the nearest whole number. And so when we find the X position for an enemy or a monster, it is a random number from 1 to monster X. And when we find the X position for a hero, it is a random number from monster X plus 1 to width. Now, display map works very similarly to the map that we had in the other program that we did in this series where there was only one hero. We use this div style to specify that it has to be a specific width and a specific height. That width and height are 64 times the number of squares it is across and 64 times the number of squares it is up and down, respectively. And because all of the pictures are 64 by 64 pixels, that means there's no room for gaps, and therefore the board displays as we want it to display, as a single picture, like that, as if it were one graphic. So again, I won't go through this line by line. It works in a very similar way. We have these two for loops. Note that the one that deals with the Y variable starts high and goes down by 1 each time, whereas normally we start low and go up when we have a for loop. The reason we do it that way is because Y coordinates go up. The number goes up as you go up. So that's a Y value of 1, that's a Y value of 2, and then the top one is a Y value of 7. And the computer will print this row first, so we need to start with a high Y value and then go down one by one, rather than starting low and going up. But essentially what it does is it looks for what's in the square, and then it prints the relevant graphic. We do have to introduce another new variable called mode, which as you can see is initially set to 0. And that keeps track of which part of the turn are we at, because we're going to have to display the map several times in a turn. So we might display the map at the start of the scenario, and then the player clicks on one of these heroes to choose them. So I might click on that one. Well, we need to display the map again, but this time slightly different in that this one is now highlighted. And then I might want to choose to move to this square, for example, say, and I might click that. first I would have to choose how many activations I want to try for. And so we're displaying the map each time, and we need to have some way of keeping track of, well, what's happening? Is the player picking a hero, or are they choosing how many activations, or have we already done that and they're choosing where to move, and so on. And to keep track of where we're at, we use $mode. At the moment, we only have 2 possible modes because we haven't done the code for the whole turn. We have 0 when it's the player's turn to choose a hero, and 1 meaning a hero is chosen, and what should be happening next is that the player should be choosing how many activations they're going to attempt. But it looks like I've run out of time, so I'll have to get into how that works in the next video. I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.